Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slaying Dragons. I am Mike Fuson with Excalibur Data Systems, and I'm joined today by Paul Hamilton from Halo. And I want to say Halo ITSM, Paul, because you're everything Halo. But I believe your title is Managing Director, which is a UK thing to really mean the Grand Poobah, right?
That's right. Yeah, you guys across the pond probably aren't too familiar with the term managing director, but let's just say CEO.
Yeah, as I said, the Grand Poobah of all things Halo. And for many of our viewers, they may have been at the HDI Support World Live Conference 2023 here just in Vegas. And Paul talked about the Halo Way at the conference. And so I said, hey, why don't we get together and let's explore this a little bit? But I kind of thought, let's start at the beginning. How did Halo become Halo? Tell us the story, Paul.
Yeah, okay. So it has been quite a journey now. 2004 was when it started for me. I was a fresh graduate out of university. I did a degree in computer science and economics, joint honours. Kind of loved IT as a kid, but I also enjoyed I guess I've always kind of been money driven, and I've liked the choices that money allows you to have as an individual. So it was always in my mind that I kind of wanted a career that had a bit of safety and also allowed me to earn a reasonable salary. Ended up falling into finance as the long and the short of it. So I started off as a trainee chartered accountant because that's what everyone seemed to do if you didn't know what you wanted to do. You wanted a safe, secure professional career. It's with one of the big accountancy firms, Ernst and Young, which yeah, a global powerhouse in the accounting and consultancy world in finance. Um, and as I say, I was a fresh grad. I'd had part-time jobs, but nothing in a professional capacity. And the whole corporate world was totally new to me. Um, and it very quickly, I think I just it didn't seem right to me the way that all the rigidity, the hierarchical structures, the chain of command, the layers you have to go through, the amount of control that there is, or just controls everywhere, which kind of just restricts people and makes the decision making really, really slow, and actually makes it quite an ungratifying place to be from an employee's perspective. It's yeah, what you're actually doing isn't actually making a huge difference, or at least it will be many, many years when you do end up being in a position where possibly you are making a bit more of a difference. And it's purely down to kind of how long you're doing it rather than how well you're doing it and how quickly you're progressing. And so moving away from that whole meritocracy, which I think is a concept that's really important to yeah, to reward people who do well quite directly, not immediately, but yeah, certainly a lot shorter term than what we're used to from the corporate giants out there. So anyway, I started off on this career with Ernst& Young as a chartered accountant, quickly left that and moved into doing a whole load of different IT stuff, so building websites, met some guys, did some software development, all self-taught stuff. So I just got well, back then it was getting books. There wasn't actually even a lot on the internet, or YouTube wasn't a thing. So it's yeah, it was a different way that you learned back then. It was buying HTML guides and yeah, there was a good series of books. I can't remember what they're called now, but I got loads of them and taught myself a load of different IT skills and got involved in all areas of IT. Um, and but one guy in particular that I struck a good relationship was, and still to this day, my business partner Alan Rogerson. He'd been writing a piece of software which he used himself in his career, and he'd gone self-employed and just continued to develop this bit of software as a hobby, very much a lifestyle type activity. But when I saw it, I was like, Alan, this has legs. This can really be developed into something. And tried to persuade him to just allow me to commercially develop it. And yeah, I basically spent a few years, I suppose, proving my worth, and we were still doing other bits and pieces, developing other bits of software. building networks, building websites. So the whole IT admin side, I guess, even doing training classes to people who want to learn how to use Microsoft Excel and things like that. So a real array of different IT um, areas. But it was 2008, I think, when we thought, right, enough's enough. We need to, I guess I drove the need to focus 100% on this bit of software, which back then was called Net Help Desk. And from the years 2008 to 2011, we did pretty well. We were, yeah, we probably doubled our turnover every year. I mean, very small back then. You're talking just enough for the two of us to be able to kind of earn a decent enough living to, yeah, just to get by really. So yeah, nothing fancy by any means. But in 2011, that was when Alan kind of wanted. He's a bit older than me, might not look it, but he is. And yeah, that was back in 2011. He wanted to take a bit more of a backseat, start semi-retirement. And at the time, we were getting busier than ever. So that was when, for me, because people always say, when did the journey start? Was it 2004? So psychologically, in terms of me building my philosophy and what I thought was a good way to build and run a business, I'd say 100% it was 2004. But when the business actually started growing in what we see today, I'd probably say the answer is like 2011. So me as an individual, yeah, 2004. But Net Help Desk, which has become Halo, we started employing people back in 2011, so 12 years ago, which is much more aligned. And people kind of understand that a bit more when they, because when you say you've got a 30-year heritage, they kind of don't really understand why it was just a sleeping giant for 20 years or 25 years even. And like, why is everything now happening in the last 5 years? But the reason is that it wasn't really taken seriously until about 2011. So yeah, we started employing people, one person a year for the first couple of years, maybe. So two people possibly in 2013, another couple in 2014. And then what we ended up with, so in 2018, we had a system that had been in development now for, yeah, over 20 years. So as I said, 1994 was when the first bit of code was actually written in the help desk by Alan. And we had a masterpiece in terms of a functional system that was so versatile and used in so many ways to satisfy service management objectives. But the problem was it was on archaic infrastructure. The architecture was an old Delphi application. It was all Windows Forms. Everyone else had moved like totally SaaS-based providers 10 years ago even, so we were well behind. And it makes you think, well, how did we, because we became pretty successful in 2018, we were enjoying a lot of success. How did we manage to get that success with such an old platform? And the reason it was always to do with what we were like as a company to work with, and that sticks with us to this day. But the reason for the explosive growth in the last 5 years is that we completely reskinned the application. So it's all the same structure and all that knowledge that we gained in the prior 20 years as to what's a good way for people to run service management and all the way to implement ITIL into a platform and yeah, how to do change, problem, request fulfillment, CMDB, all that stuff that different platforms kind of over the years have attempted to deliver it in different ways. And we're confident now that when you actually see Halo as we are now, it really is there's a couple of platforms probably that stand out in terms of the intuitiveness and the speed and performance at which you can actually deliver on your service management objectives. But yeah, in terms of the shortened version of the story, it would be that I started learning all about business in 2004. Started employing people 2011. The business started propelling forward at that point. 2018, massive rebrand. So we switched from Net Help Desk to Halo. And at that point, it coincided, not exactly, but roughly around the same time as when we did the complete rewrite from the ground up in terms of the actual front end experience that users would have. which was a blessing in disguise because we didn't set that. None of this was by design. We were, as I say, the last ones to come to the whole 100% web-based SaaS party. Um, but what that meant was, you look at us now, we've got the newest, most modern architecture of any vendor out there. It's all React based, so pioneered by Facebook. And it means that no matter what department you're in, whether it's IT or, I mean, we're enterprise service management. It's not just IT. And in fact, that is something where there'll be a whole new rebranding exercise coming later in the year to do with moving away from, or not moving away, but just complementing ITSM. So making it clear that we're very much in the ESM space and it's not just about ITSM. Because it is such a good intuitive interface, people in HR, finance, legal, wherever you are in the organization, it's very, very easy for you to use Halo to deliver all your service objectives. So replying to even, I don't know, complaint inquiries or HR inquiries, air conditioning units and facilities departments, all this stuff that can all get fed into Halo and resolved, no matter which department. Yeah, and that's where we are today. So the way I'd sum it up is that in 2023, we do have the market leading platform. As I say, there's a couple of very good platforms out there. In terms of the platform, we do develop quicker than the competition. You can see that with the chat GPT stuff that we're working on at the moment that's been released. We were the quickest to bring that to market. The Teams integration is by far best of breed. No one does it as efficiently and as well as what we have in that area as well. So these are all, and it's to do with different APIs that are coming online that allow us to do what we do a lot more easily, and we can just jump on this more quickly than the competition. And I think, yeah, in terms of, so how do we do that, and how as a company, I'm just telling you like how we've grown and employed people over the years, but not really gone in at all to how we're different from a company perspective. But maybe we'll dive and dig into that a little bit more, maybe in a future episode, perhaps.
Absolutely, because we really want to talk about, what is the Halo way, because it's not only how you run, it's how you run your business, but it's also how you interact with the customers. And it's something that we've talked about, extensively with our customers. And I know I presented last year at the Service Management World on ESM. Everybody does request management. Almost every department does. And having a platform that is easy and intuitive to use is important, but that's driven in a very, very basic way, by the Halo way, which is where we are today. And we've been on the journey with you for the past, going on almost 3 years now. And to watch the speed at which things are innovated, and the innovations are not because the market said, "Oh, you need to have this." It's because the customers are saying, "Here's what we want."
Mm.
And Chat GPT would be one of those where you know everybody's asking about it, so we want to make sure it's available because the customers are asking. Hey, how is this going to be used? Is this going to be available? And there's just the laundry list is long of the things that you guys have done to react to what the customers want, and that drives everything. So we definitely look forward to digging into the details of the Halo way, and how it's so different from most of what's out there. And you kind of encapsulated it in the beginning, in your first job. And I was kind of chuckling inwardly, because my journey into starting Excalibur was very similar. A little bit different in that one of the things that always frustrated me in many of the environments I worked in was the level of micromanagement that goes on, and how slow it is to get anything done, because we're into the weeds and we're not paying attention to what's the broader thing that's happening, and let's pivot or make a decision on certain things. We want to micromanage every little detail. And it's one of the things I always talk to staff as I bring them on, is I'm terrible as a manager if you're looking for somebody to micromanage you, because I built the organization because it's something that I didn't like. To be able to grow. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit older than Paul, you know, but I think many of us that end up running businesses probably share very similar stories. In we learned what we didn't like, and we wanted to create that organization based on what we want. So I look forward to digging into the Halo way a little bit. For our viewers out there, subscribe to this channel, and uh, take a look as Paul and I start to peel back the layers of the onion that make up the Halo way. Paul, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a great way to kind of kick this off, and start to share with everyone what we know at Excalibur makes Halo so special.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, take care, everyone, and we'll see you again on another episode of Slaying Dragons.